Good morning, learners. Welcome to the second episode of week 2 of our journey. Today we are going to look at the data type, the data set. We will look at the something called initialization and declaration when it comes to C++. So to begin with, let's look at the basic structure of C++. We have include what, #include IOStream, #include what, IOStream. That is the first header file. #include IOStream. And in our first meeting, I said something like, if you see any statement or any statement begins with #, it means that it's preprocessor of directives. We have using name space std. Std is a standard library that contains CLC in the end lines. Int main function. The int main function is the global scope. Anything you want to execute, unless you put it inside the int main function. If not, it cannot be executed. Here we are printing the first hello world. You have to bring your two columns. So hello world, then we bring our two columns. We end the line. So that's the end line. We terminate it. Then the return 0. So this is the basic structure of C++. In C++, this is the basic structure. We have #include IOStream using namespace std. We have int main function. We have to bring the parentheses here. If I omit this parentheses, it means there's going to be a syntax error. This is not the format. So this is the correct format. You have to get int #include IOStream using namespace std, int main function. We have cout hello world. We have return 0. That's the basic structure of what C++. So inside the curly braces is the statement. So this is the basic structure. We have data types. The data types, we have something called we have bool. Bool is a data type. We have int is a data type. We have fruit is also a data type. We have something called char is also a data type. We have double as a data type. We have in double, we have what, string as a data type. So this is the basic data types we have. The data type here, the bool is what, the boolean is talking about, the boolean true or false. And then the int is integer type. Integer, what is integer? Integer is a whole number, any real number starting from what, from 0 to what, infinity. That's integer. So the integer is what, a whole number starting from 0 to what, infinity. We have the fruit. The fruit is what, having a decimal point, a real number having what, a decimal point, and the char is one character. Let's say one character, it can be A, it can be B. It's supposed to be one character, it can be 1, 2. That's the char. And then we have the double. The maximum of decimal, the double and the fruits are similar, but the number of decimal places differs. As for the fruit, it takes 6 to 7 decimal places, but as for the double, it takes up to 15 decimal places. We have the string. The string is comprised with many characters. So let's look at something called the data size of various data type. When you take bool, the data size is what, 1. The data size is what, 1 byte. 1 byte. As for the integer, it takes what, 4 bytes of data bit. 4 bytes. So the 4 bytes. So you know 1 byte is equivalent to what, 8 bits. So it means that in terms of bit, the integer takes what, 32 bits, and then the boolean takes what, 8 bits. As for the fruit also take what? The fruit also take what? The fruit also take 4 bits. Also take what, 4 bytes rather, 4 bytes. So it's equivalent to what, 32 bits. We have the char. The char also take what, 1 byte. 1 byte is equivalent to what, 8 bits. So equivalent to what, 8 bits. We have the double. The double takes what, 8 bits. Sorry, 8 bytes, and it's equivalent to what? 8 bytes is equivalent to what? When you say 8 bytes, 8 bytes is equivalent to let's do the calculation. 64 bits. 64 bits. The string also takes what, 32 bits. 8 bits. Which is equivalent to what? Take what, 8 bits. 8 bytes, which is equivalent to what, 64 bits. So this is the data size of various what? The various data type. So looking at something called initialization, how can we initialize our data types? We have something, let's say int, this is the data type, and we have something called identifier. Identifier talks about a container whereby we are going to store some value in it. So let's say the int is what? Number is what? Let's say this is declaration. For a declaration, we say we terminate it. It's what? The blueprint or the structure is what? You first bring your what? Identifier. your data type, your identifier, and you terminate. That's the declaration of a data type. So you do it to all the data types. We have what? Bool, let's say rain is equal to true. We terminate it. Or we can, so we are declaring, so we don't need to initialize it. So we terminate it. Rain. Let's say float. Float amount. Then we terminate it. Let's look at char. We say gender. We terminate it. Looking at double. Double. Looking at double, we have, let's say double, let's use cost. Then we terminate it. Here we have what? Declaring what? The data types. Here we are declaring all the data types. Declaration. Declaration. Here we are declaring what? The variables. We are declaring the data types. So here, let's look at what? Initialization. To initialize a variable. Here, we are not going to make it, the blueprint is not going to be the data type, the identifier, but it's going to be, let's use the same thing. To initialize means we are assigning what? Value to the identifier or the variable. Let's say the number is 45. It is raining. Is it raining? Yes, true. Amount is what? 65.334. 65.47474. So gender is what? Male. There's a cost. The cost is what? 67.3324. So here we are able to what? Initialize what? We are able to initialize what? Our variables. This is called initialization. Initialization is whereby we are assigning values to the what? The identifier. That's initialization. By the declaration is what? Whereby we are what? Just declare. We are telling the the machine or the CPU that, hey, allocate memory in in this number, call it number, and I want to store a value there. So that's the declaration. You are prompting the machine to what? Allocate some places, or memory allocation, memory place whereby you are going to store some value there. And then the declaration here means you have initialization here. We have what? Initialized already, and then we have declared it already once. So that's the initialization and declaration. So here you will see that, as I said, that it takes what? As for the int, is what? Integer. So it's supposed to be any number from what? 0 to infinity. And the boolean is talking about true or false. And the float is what? Talking about decimal point. But the number of decimal point is from at most 7. But as for the double, it takes almost what? Up to 15 decimal places. So we have the last data type we have to declare or initialize. We have string. It's case sensitive. So when it is upper case, you will not see the blueprint. You see string, you say name, then you terminate it. This is what? Variable or declaration. So if you want to initialize it, it's going to be string name, then we assign it. But here the rule says that when you are declaring a string, it should be in what? In quotation marks. So let's say Al Hassan. So then we terminate it. So this is how the the string data type is declared or initialized. So looking at the scopes, let us look at, we have something called scope. Scope, we have 3 or 4 or 5 scopes when it comes to C++. But today we will look at the global scope and the local scope. So whatever I have done here is a local scope. Anything inside the main function is a global scope. So whenever I declare something, let's say let us copy this one, and whenever we paste it outside the main function, it becomes what? Global scope. It becomes what? Global scope. So when you paste it under the main function too, it's what? A global scope. So a global scope is doing something outside the main function. That is what? A global scope. And the local scope is doing something inside the main function. So that's the global scope for you. And the data types we have defined here, we have done it here. We have user-defined data types. We have normal data types. Here, these are normal data types. But you can create your own data type without using the built-in data types in the C++ language. But we have the formats. In our next meeting, we are going to do more practical about, I think week 5 or so, we are going to do more practical about or programmer or creating your own data type. We have user data type, the keywords. We have something called we have union. sorry, I said it's case or sensitive. So whatever you are doing, you have to make it in lowercase. We have union. You see, I've printed blue. Yes. So union is our user defined data type. We have struct. It's also user defined data type. You can use it to create your own data type. So let us look at our last subtopic. We are going to look at what do you call it? We have void. It's also another data type. Void is also another data type. Here, the void is what we are talking about. The absent. When we are using void, it means that we are not going to return any value. The CPU is not going to do any calculation. It's just going to print the information. Let's say the information about something, but it's not going to return any value. So the void function, we have. Let me create a void function. Let's say okay, you bring the keyword void. Say void name. You what? You terminate it the same as we did it for the other types. So the void, the keyword void, and then the name. This is what declaration. And when you want to initialize, it's the same thing. Void. You bring the identifier. That's the name. You what? Assign it. That's the name. Kabor. So this is how it is. Then you what? Terminate it. So this is a void function. So the last thing, we have something called sign and unsign. Sign on what? Unsign. Sign and what? Unsign. So the sign and unsign here, signed or unsigned. So that sign and unsign here, we are looking at the sign is what? It can be both positive and also negative. But unsigned is only non-negative numbers. So this is how the sign and unsign structure is. Let's pick one of our data type. You can say int. Let's say x. X is identifier. Then whenever we sign it, let's say 45. Here is what sign. We have sign. It's like it look like initialization. We have assigned value to it, but it can be what negative as well, or it can be positive. When it is positive, it's not necessarily need for us to add the positive sign. When you add a positive sign to it, it's what syntax error. So when it is positive, you leave it like that 45. But when it is negative, you have to indicate the sign, and then that's the sign. That's the structure. But as for unsigned, it's non-negative numbers. This is the structure. Let's say int x. Then you say you terminate it. Then you come here. You say x is equal to what? 45. So this is what? This is what do you call it? This is unsigned. You first declare the variable, and you come down the next line, and you assign the variable to the value. So this is the sign and unsigned. But as for the unsigned, it's non-negative numbers. Thank you for watching me. See you next week for our next meeting. Next week we are going to explore more on user-defined data types and how we can use it to write, let's say, our simple calculator. Thank you for watching. See you in our next meeting. Thank you.